Please rise as you are willing and able for our hymn from the gray hymnal, number 6, Just as Long as I Have Breath. Whether you came here for the 1,000th time, or this is your first time here, whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your accent, whoever you love, whatever religious beliefs you hold, you are welcome here. You are welcome here as you are. Ours is a tradition that embraces heresy, a word that means choosing. Ours is a faith that affirms that we need not think or believe alike. Our aspiration is that we love alike. In loving alike, we tangibly care for each other, for every person, and for the whole world. We affirm that every person is worthy and that every person deserves love. We are firmly committed to this world and to the struggle to make it a paradise, here for the living. You matter, and you are welcome here. My name is Linda Brown, and I am your service leader today. My pronouns are she, her. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us, whether you're enjoying the service here in person or watching online. I'd like to extend a special welcome to anybody joining us today for the first time. After the service, we invite you to stay for coffee and conversation downstairs in our reception hall. Please take a moment now to silence your phones, but we encourage you to share your presence with us on social media. I have a few announcements. Please join Save the World on Sunday, November 17th at 7 p.m. in Adams Hall. As we enter our 8th year, we'll watch a short video from 2016 and talk about organizing around love, breathing, pushing, and the long labor toward a better country and a better world. What is happening on November 16th? Hey. So here's some important information. First, the online-only silent auction went live this past Monday. A special email with all the instructions and a link to Bidding Owl was sent out last week, and I believe it's in the Friday e-blast as well. So make sure you check it out. There are 65 items to choose from, including local merchant gift cards, pottery, novelties, entertainment, and much more. Bid often to be sure you are not overbid for the items you want. And just a side note, if you see the raffle baskets, the committee baskets and the raffle for that, do remember that you can buy raffle tickets online at the silent auction, but also you have the opportunity at the live auction as well to bid on the baskets. If you have any questions about this, see me. Second, the in-person superheroes auction will begin with dinner this coming Saturday of delicious superfoods. The dinner will be served at 6 p.m. along with beer and wine, followed by the live auction starting at 7. Suggested arrival time is between 5:30 and 6, and please pre-register, that's important. The link is in the same place as where you can go to Bidding Owl. Please pre-register to let us know you are coming. The main auction link will take you to where you can bid, the links for all of our auction information. But that pre-registering is important, so we make sure we have enough food for everybody. And finally, the fundraising committee is shouting out a big thank you to all the UUCF superheroes who have donated, volunteered, and helped make this auction possible. It's going to be great, so please come. The service on November 24th will be a bread communion, multi-congregational service at Northwest. We will be having a potluck after the service and would love it if folks could bring dishes to share. We will also be collecting non-perishable food donations, so please bring items to help those in need. For more video content, check out our social media on Facebook or Instagram at UU Farmington, and also check the UUCF website and emails for other announcements about upcoming events. Our chalice lighting words are from Reverend Dan Schatz. Come into this sacred space, leave nothing behind. Bring your love and your heartbreak, your fear and your defiance, your grieving and your dreaming. Come with your entire self. In this community, we are worthy, you are worthy, and you are enough, and you are a blessing. Come and be whole. Let us enter into worship together. Please join me in reciting our UUCF mission statement, which is in your order of service. We seek answers everywhere, include everyone, live with compassion.
It is Just making sure that you can hear me with the mic. Okay, good. So, as you know, I don't really like living in a box, so we just mix things up a little bit. So, today, let's just acknowledge today is different, right? I don't know about you, but I'm like constantly having chills running down my top of my head, noticing how that feels. When we do our meditation moment, I try to bring people into their bodies, notice what's happening. Maybe your stomach is tight, like mine. Maybe you've been holding your shoulders up against your ears. Maybe you could just breathe into that and just kind of move a little bit. And you also don't have to sit. You can stand. You can move around. If you feel the need to stand up and move around, if you feel the energy that needs to move through your body, you are welcome to do that. Because this meditation is about the roots of resilience. Feeling ourselves all the way down to our toes, feeling the roots of who we are in this space where we can see the trees around us, helping us remember the trees, the stones, the sky, the sun, which to me kind of outrageously shone again on Wednesday morning. Like, I just cannot believe that the sun continues to shine, and yet it does. So I want to imagine, if you're sitting, to put your feet down on the floor, feel your connection. Imagine it through Adam's Hall all the way down to the ground. Or if you're standing, perhaps you can feel yourself, like what does it feel like here in this space, feeling connected to something beyond. Feel the gravity, how gravity works on all of us no matter what. It's always working on us. Feel the gravity of the earth holding you in place. We're not, although our spirits feel like they're kind of spinning out of control, the gravity is holding us here in place. Wiggle your toes as if they were roots down into the ground. The roots connect you to the earth, lending you strength, something far beyond what we can feel at the moment. There is strength, beauty in the earth. If you were standing outside, perhaps you could feel yourself gently swaying in the wind, feeling the wind against you. I know we have a couple of windows. Maybe you can feel some of the air moving. Imagine turning your body like a trunk of a tree. We imagine trees stand perfectly still, but we also know that they do have movement. Feel that space within yourself. Imagine yourself leaning this way and that, bending as the air pushes and pulls against you in whatever space that is for you now. What surrounds you may also sway you. Feel that. What surrounds you may make you bend, and it may feel a little unbalanced. Notice that. Wiggle your toes again. Down, down. Know that your roots can hold you as you grow and learn. A tree is nourished by the soil and water. You are nourished by food that the earth grows and the water that it provides. When I think of food that I eat, I try to imagine all of the people all along the way, people who planted seeds, people who planted it, who harvested them, people who brought the food to the stores, people who managed them, so many people along the way that made it possible for all of us to eat. People who manage the water that make it possible for us to have water. You are cared for and loved by many, many people, those you know, those you don't. We are all connected far beyond what we can know or see. Breathe deeply. Still yourself. Notice how it feels now in your body. Anything else you may be holding on to? Know that your roots are strong. Once again, wiggle your toes. And bring your energy back to this moment, these people. Please remain seated as we sing our meditation song from the Great Hymnal. It's number 396. I know this rose will open. We will sing it twice through.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will furl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. These words are by Adrienne Marie Brown from Love and Liberation, Emergent Strategy. One thing I have observed, when we are engaged in acts of love, we humans are at our best and most resilient. The love and romance that makes us want to be better people, the love of children that makes us change our whole lives to meet their needs, the love of community that makes us work tirelessly with broken hearts. Perhaps humans' core function is love. Love leads us to observe in a much deeper way than any other emotion. I think of how delightful it is to see something new in my friends' faces, something they may only know from inside, as a feeling. If love were the central practice of a new generation of organizers and spiritual leaders, it would have a massive impact on what was considered organizing. If the goal was to increase the love, rather than winning or dominating a constant opponent, I think we could actually imagine liberation from constant oppression. We would suddenly be seeing everything we do, everyone we meet, not through the tactical eyes of war, but through eyes of love. we would see that there's no such thing as a blank canvas, an empty land, or a new idea. But everywhere there is a complex, ancient, fertile ground full of potential. We would organize with the perspective that there is wisdom and experience, an amazing story in the communities we love. And instead of starting up new ideas or organizations all the time, we would want to listen, support, collaborate, merge, and grow through fusion, not competition. We would understand that the strength of our movement is in the strength of our relationships, which could only be measured by their depth. Scaling up would mean going deeper, being more vulnerable and more empathetic.
Let's just hold a moment together. What It Takes to Heal. That is an audacious sermon title. I know. Truly, everything now, after the election, feels utterly ridiculous and full of hubris. Like, what does anything matter? It's easy to stay in that moment. I, for one, have been vacillating between a lot of emotions. From feeling like everything is completely insignificant. Absolutely, like, what? Why are we doing this? Everything is insignificant, to feeling like we must take on everything right now. Everything right now. Wait, what are we doing? Even here, we must be doing something. Vacillating between those two. Feeling totally and utterly exhausted. Like I feel like I have no more emotions. There's nothing left. And feeling energized by the people who have found words to say and things that maybe they can see that I can't. And like trying to grasp onto, okay, maybe there's something here I can learn from. And wanting to read everything on dictatorships and tyranny, because that is the world we're moving into, and so we must become even more educated than we thought we were. I don't know about you, feeling like I thought I knew a lot, but clearly I didn't, and there's so much more to learn. I have run the gamut of emotions, and I am guessing you have too. Even this morning, I broke down crying in the shower, having no idea what is going to happen. I have no idea. I don't know, like how it's the frustration in the line between where to be pastoral and caring and when to be prophetic and do the things. And yet, we are holding so much grief, so much sadness. We have to be a place where people can feel all of those feelings, and we don't tell people they're wrong for being in the sadness or being in the charging space, because we're all in different places. This community is a space where we can hold all of those things, even when it's hard. I've struggled with how personal to be. Like, my wife was adopted from Ecuador. She's a short brown woman. So let me tell you, when we go places, people call her sir. We now live in a world. I was living in North Carolina when the transgender bathroom bill was passed, and I had friends who were accosted in the bathroom because they didn't fit whatever the gender vision people think of what female is supposed to look like. That's going to happen. Again, across the entire country right now. It's going to happen. I was telling her we need to make sure your adoption papers are fully legal. Who knows what's going to happen? How scared should we be? We don't know. None of us knows. And yet, we're still in community. We're still here together. I still have faith in each of you. I still believe in goodness. Just like the song we sang earlier, I still believe in love. In a little bit, Ellen and Bev are going to sing Impossible Until It's Not. We picked that song a few months ago, having no idea what was going to happen today. And we still believe in the impossible, don't we? So we're just going to keep holding on to that. As I said, the service calendar, I've mentioned this to you several times, that we create the service calendar way back in June. We work on topics and speakers, and then I had originally had this Sunday off. Then in August, when I met with the folks from Northwest and First U in Detroit, they work together. I've just been going to kind of observe their process, and then I go and realize, wait a minute, I can't take today off. Today is the Sunday after the election. I can't not be here with you, the people that are my congregation. Not being here with you would not be very caring, would it? And so we rearranged everything, and thanks to Marie, she is co-speaking next week. We rearranged so that I could be here, having no idea what was going to happen. And Diana and I working on music, again, having not a clue what was going to happen, but we still have to believe that we are going to be here. And so how do we keep building these spaces for what is going to happen next? So having no idea, because really who does, I decided to build this service, this sermon, around this book called What It Takes to Heal, How Transforming Ourselves Can Change Our World by Prentis Hemphill. Hemphill's book was released this past summer to much fanfare by activists and the progressive religious community. Hemphill was and is a leader in the Black Lives Matter movement. They are a therapist and do somatics training, and somatics is this fancy word for being in touch with our bodies, noticing the way we hold things, helping people process change through our bodies and the ways that that our bodies have so much information in them. They give us information and we can move from that. So those two things have informed the ways that Prentis was called on when the Black Lives Matter movement started, when there was, marching in the streets, but they also knew that people needed healing. They needed a space to just be and notice the ways that they are experiencing trauma, and also all the trauma that they've been holding for so long, and the trauma that's been passed down to generations and generations. And what do you do with all that trauma? So Hemphill was given this enormous task of trying to figure this out. What does it take to heal? And so they took that and all of their various experiences and then eventually put it down in this book, What It Takes to Heal, How Transforming Ourselves Can Change Our World. This is not a book report, so I'm going to encourage you to please go buy their book, and because it really makes a difference, and especially this book is written from the perspective of a Black queer woman and from working in Black spaces. So that is also important for people to also learn and imagine. So I wanted to share with you some of Prentis's thoughts and tied in with a few other thoughts and readings from this week, that my one hope is for us to continue to have hope in some way. That's really my biggest wish, is for us to continue to have some hope. So in addition to reading the book, I think I've mentioned to all of you that I actually learn best by listening. And so I have absolutely inhaled the podcast. It's called Becoming the People. If you're a podcast listener, I highly encourage it. In the podcast, then, they interviewed other activists and authors who referenced, among others, Harriet Tubman, Audre Lorde, Bayard Rustin, James Baldwin, Maya Angelou, Fannie Lou Hamer, Grace Lee Boggs, and many, many others. Especially listening to the episode talking about Audre Lorde, a Black lesbian activist from the 70s, who wrote poetry and prose. She taught others. It brought me back to when I first learned about Audre Lorde in the 90s, being inspired by her and the work that she did. Listening to those episodes made me think of other reading I've done, specifically because I think it's so important to learn from people who have, I want to say survived, but did they? They made it through. We know many, many others in these times did not. So I want to acknowledge that. And just because your physical self is still living through the trauma, you're still carrying things. I want to acknowledge that. But we need to learn, because especially people like me who grew up white in this world, we've been told that we've learned all the things we need to, but we don't. We haven't in any way. There's so much more to learn from. We here in the United States have had this fantasy that fascism would never come here, that we would never have a tyranny, that democracy would always be the way that we lived. And we've now learned that we're wrong. And it's a hard thing to hold on to. We've watched other countries have dictatorships and told ourselves that would never happen here. And we were wrong. And now we need to learn from people who lived through those experiences. We need to read, pay attention, open our eyes and our hearts to people from other cultures who've lived through it, and be able to put those practices into practice. So here's just a few thoughts that are both from Prentis Hemphill and also from another, if you're somebody, so there's some emotional things to talk about. There are some action-oriented things for those of you who like action, tell me what to do kind of things. And know that both of them live simultaneously within our community and within ourselves, right? There's never just one thing. So I'm also going to be quoting from an amazing article I found this week from an organization called Waging Nonviolence. Their article is called 10 Ways to Be Prepared and Grounded Now That Trump Has Won, and it's by Daniel Hunter. So some of the thoughts are the same. But one of them is trust yourself. Going back to how it feels in your body. Trust yourself to know you can find sources of information that are accurate and true. Things that we've talked about, mentioned here before, Heather Cox Richardson, many other speakers and writers that even now are still speaking truth. Trust yourself to find them. Trust yourself to know what is true in this world. And then find others who you trust. This community is going to be so much more important than you can even imagine right now. I was so thrilled to hear that yesterday at the board games, there were like between 30 and 40 people who showed up. We need each other. We need each other so much. And we are going to have to learn how to build coalitions across differences of people who may have things that we don't completely agree with, but we do agree we don't want fascism. So we're going to find ways to make those connections. In the meantime, we're going to find ways to be vulnerable and sharing and caring with each other. When there are events scheduled, please come. Please come support your community. Please come and be with each other. When there are opportunities to fully share of your heart, please do that. We need each other so much more than I can even begin to share with you. We're going to have to walk the fine line between caring and shutting ourselves off, because we can't completely shut ourselves off. I understand, like the next day I was at the gas station or the grocery store, and you're looking around and going, some of you people voted against my right to exist. My next door neighbor did, I know for sure. I know some of my relatives did. I know that. Our friends, family, neighbors, business owners, we know that. And we still have to find a way to keep our hearts open. And you have to figure out what those boundaries are for you. I can't tell you what to do, what your life may look like. I'm not at a place right now where I can be friendly to my relatives that voted again, who made that vote. That's just not where I am. Maybe you're in a different place. But I think one day they're going to realize that this vote hurt them too. And we need to be able to keep our hearts open. We need to make the time to place to grieve. And I just absolutely hate that I have to say these words, but this is very different than the first presidency, and now we have the second presidency. In the first presidency, for a while at the beginning, it was like constant onslaught of, wait a minute, they've come up with some new thing to do. Every day was some new horror that we, who believe in inclusion, love, respect, and caring, just could not imagine that there are people who believe that cruelty is the point, and that every day they're going to come up with some new way to implement cruelty. It was just impossible because our minds just couldn't fathom that possibility. And so we had to figure out ways to take care of ourselves. We are already in that. Already. So we ourselves have to figure out how we're going to take care of ourselves for knowing and believing that the policies they've suggested will happen. They will happen. They're very serious about the policies that they want to implement. This is not a joke in any way, and I take them absolutely seriously. And I don't say this to make you afraid. I'm just saying this because we have to be very clear within our own selves. This is the reality, and hold space for grieving the world that we wish that we had planned on. This congregation went above and beyond what was requested for the get out the vote, for the good trouble requirements. So many of you, I'm looking at Diana now, so many of you wrote letters, sent postcards, did poll watching, were out there. You believe in democracy. It is okay. Take the time you need to grieve for the world that you had imagined. And we have to find ways to support each other when these policies become implemented. I envision a day when people who are marginalized and vulnerable in redder states than ours, it's horrifying to learn that Michigan went red for the presidency. People from other states will be flooding to states like ours, and we are going to have to figure out how to be welcoming, whatever that looks like. Whether it's opening our pocketbook, whether it's sheltering people here at the building, whatever that looks like, people will need to escape. And we are going to have to figure out how much are we going to be living into our values? What does it mean for us? What risks are we going to take to actually live what we say we believe? It's beyond a vote. Now it's the living, and we have to do that. In the article about knowing this is where we are now, they list 4 possible ways that people can live, can move into this. There's protecting the people, and this looks like actively hosting people who will be fleeing other places. There were, even before this, there was already an organization called, I meant to write it down. I'll put it later, it's pink something that the word has escaped me at the moment. But there's already an organization of transgender, non-binary folks from other states that have been helping people leave, especially Florida and people in Missouri and other states where it's not only, or they're not only not allowing medical care, already forcing people being outed, harassing children, and so on. We know that that's already happening. So organizations have already been in place. And just like the reading said, we don't have to recreate. We need to get involved. We need to go listen to people who are doing the work and say, what can we do? I'm putting out my hand. Tell me what I can do to help you. We need to defend our civic institutions, and that is both as an insider and outsider. We have to notice the ways that we might become judgmental about people who work inside government institutions. We don't know who is who, really. And we have to trust that people with our values are still working inside government institutions. And we know that that is their reality, and that's the world that they might live in, and we know that on day one, there could be mass firings. We know that. There will be people who will need to disrupt and disobey. This goes to things like actively non-cooperating, national strikes and work shutdowns. There are many ways that that could end up looking like, and we as individuals or as a congregation will have to decide what does that look like for us. And then we will have to build some alternatives. I imagine that our healthcare system is going to look very different. We might have to figure out how to help each other, how to build networks of other healthcare providers who support us and believe in our same values. Things might look different. I know of a doctor here in Michigan who mostly serves transgender people, and he posted the other day about how he had already been coding his clients so that they can't be tracked. A few things that I know that Marie has talked about in the past, but I also want to make sure that we're aware of, that we will not obey in advance. That is what tyranny asks us to do. Washington Post refusing to take a stand, to make an endorsement, that is, in its own way, obeying in advance because they were afraid. We will not obey in advance. We will not take down our pride sign. We will not take fewer stands on what we believe. We will be even more public because people who need us will be looking for us, and it matters to them that we are public. We will not. We will not self-censor. We will have to reorient what does a political map and relationships look like. I appreciate in this story, in this article, then they talk about a whole coalition of people, activists, lawyers, generals, military folks, who were all in a room 6 months ago trying to think about what is going to happen if Trump wins. And I love that the writer talks about, like, they would have never imagined being in the same room with some of these people who were, in many ways, diametrically opposed. But they all knew they didn't want Trump to win. And so then they were looking at what are the obstacles, what are the paths, what are the things that could happen, sort of like a choose your own adventure story. If this happens, then this. If this happens, then this. And based on what's happening with the House and the Senate, the options are becoming fewer. And so we have to realize that we're going to have to build coalitions across differences and across like ways that we might have had closed hearts against people. Now is not the time. If we're on the same choice, the same desire, then we have to open our hearts. So I thought I would share with you that because now I have next Sunday off, that I'm going to actually attend a Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints service next Sunday. Because one of our members of the FAI lunch, I'm looking at Linda because she actually helped cook our lunch on Thursday, and she's come now to a couple of them, and the LDS is like one of the largest groups of people who come to this. And one of them, her son, is coming back from a mission trip and is presenting about their mission trip next Sunday. And you know what? Like, I need to go support my friend Darcy. We have very different religious beliefs, but I want a long-term relationship with Darcy. So I'm going to show up. We have to find ways to move past whatever our initial no is. What is a yes behind that, so we can still make a difference? Just want to think on one big thing at the end, is that we still have to envision a positive future. Even now. Even now. Because if we can't envision it, it won't happen. In Prentis's book, she talks about a time when, as a child, she was attending a school, this was like 8th grade, and she had to give a report on someone and like be what I would call that superhero for the day. And she was Harriet Tubman. And she talked about how she learned so much from reading about her, and how Harriet Tubman had to believe. Can you imagine? She had to believe in her time that she and others would be free, despite incredible dangers, in spite of not knowing who to trust, like we talk about, who to trust. She had to learn how to do that. She had to believe. I just can't even imagine the fear, the worry. People are out there, and yet she did it. We have to believe in a positive future for us and for the whole country and the world. If we don't, we don't have anything left. Cannot stay in despair. We have to live pragmatically and believe that there is still a beautiful future for all of us. I have to believe that. Let's take another breath together. Going to have our joys and sorrows in a minute. And I encourage you to speak from the heart if you're someone who has something to share. That's for you to decide. And then during the offertory, Bev and Ellen are going to sing Impossible Until It's Not. And we're going to believe that despite right now everything feels impossible, one day it will be. And then our closing hymn, in your book, it's called Standing on the Side of Love. But a few years ago, the larger UU movement actually revised the title to Answering the Call of Love because we wanted to be more inclusive. It is one of the ways that we're always moving towards how can we be more, making space for more. So I encourage you to remember those words. We will still always be answering the call of love, even now, even now. So may it be.
May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Your joy is multiplied in its sharing. Your sorrow is lightened in its sharing. The stories that are shared weave together to strengthen our community as we care for one another. You're welcome to come pick up a stone or stones from the table, infuse or charge it with your joy or sorrow, and place it in the singing bowl, where its energy will ripple out to be held by all of us. If you'd like to verbally share something important to your heart, please come up and speak into the microphone. All are welcome to participate in any of these ways. the silent sanctuary of our hearts. One for the joys, one for the sorrows, and one for the strength of the gathered community that can support you and bring you peace. For the gifts which we have received and the gifts which we ourselves are, may we be truly grateful. May we be committed to using these gifts to make a difference in the world, to increase love and justice, to decrease hatred and oppression, to expand beloved community, to share and to keep sharing as long as we can. You are now invited to participate in the blessing of giving as the ushers come among you to accept the gifts of the congregation. You may also give online via the QR code on the back of the order of service. Thank you.
Tough act to follow. Engineers say bumblebees can't fly. Their wings are too short and their bodies too wide. But there one goes a-wandering by. It happens all the time. There's just no way lightning could be born. They've measured the clouds and it just can't form. But it cracks the sky in every thunderstorm. It happens all the time. It's impossible, 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 until it's not. There's light in the night from stars long gone. A half-formed thought becomes a song. We rise from our grief and go on. It happens all the time. There's a lake that you cannot see across, away through the woods that I thought I'd lost, clearing out everything that it's time to toss. It happens all the time. It's impossible, 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 until it's not.
Please join me in reciting the offertory blessing that can be found in your order of service. To the work of creating beloved community within and beyond these walls, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings. And please rise as you are willing and able to sing our hymn from the Teal hymnal, number 1014, Answering the Call of Love.
To this, I put up this table on Wednesday, and it has some, these are some LED candles, some books of poetry. You're welcome to come up and just sit and be silent in here in the sanctuary if that's what you need.
Love holds you. Love bears witness to all your inherent dignity and worthiness. It witnesses how you try, succeed, and fail, and does not flinch. Love will not let you go. Love holds all of you. Love holds all of us. May it ever be so.
You know, it's what I do. It's my crusade.
This feels like a song that would be in my book of stuff. So. Well, my personal favorite, the one I have with all the printouts and chaos and energy. Yeah, no, I found it. I emailed it to myself so I can print it later. But, thank you. I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't have it written, and so the whole first half of the service, I'm like, right, edit, too long. Get rid of flowery language. No, that is, we don't need to use bigger adjectives than is necessary. Back it up. Yeah, unfortunately, I know some people, they're extremely but it was a long week. My siblings and I sent a lot of text messages back and forth. But the reality is, the people I have to have this conversation, when I would say, find out what they and I had like a sneaking suspicion. I talked to somebody here. They're pulling up their story, and I'm like, I have been talking to people, and I don't think it's gonna go the way y'all think it's gonna go. So maybe I was a little bit, my own pessimism prepared me, but I can't unfortunately just be like, I'm not talking to you. These are people in my life. I can't just be like, F off. You know? And that just, the us them doesn't help anything. Yeah, and you can't upset for us as is for someone who maybe listen this way. The only thing I would have added that I keep myself my head back down was I really wanted to be I identified as a Christian or even so. I'm not gonna let anybody